Hi again, it's Benjamin Friedman Wilson talking more about Langium. So we're continuing off of our previous tutorials that built on mini logo piece by piece and step by step, and we're happy to have you with us today. So in this tutorial, we're going to be focusing on the smaller component of having a CLI. And this small component that we're going to be talking about today is the JSON Serializer. So this is actually a smaller topic, so we won't make it too long. But the point being is, let's say you have a program, like a mini logo program, like so, and you want to be able to turn this into data. You want to be able to work on it, right? Like JSON. So how would you go about this? Well, you could traverse the AST by hand if you wanted to. We do have access to the model. We have the types. You could do this, and it would probably work. But then if you change the model, you would have to change the generator implementation as well. And that could be very tedious and very cumbersome. More code is going to be written and increased likelihood of a mistake. So instead, we can ask the question of, well, what's the output going to be? And if it's just JSON, then we're kind of okay with not really changing what's already built into Langium. Then we can use the built-in JSON serializer instead. So let's go ahead and set that up here. Okay, so now we have a basic template for using the JSON serializer. I'm going to walk through the steps here to set this up. Not too many changes. So one of the first things is making sure the imports are correct. We need the mini logo services first. It was already in the module, so we just needed to import it. Fairly straightforward. We had it down here, yeah. So it's just renamed from the previous tutorial, but this allows us to generate our services. And we want to make sure that we're also using the node file system. There's also an empty file system, but we don't need that. That's used for the browser context, so the node file system will perfectly work for us. Okay. Once we have these services, we can invoke the JSON serializer like so. Getting the serializer JSON serializer.serialize on our model. Now serialize is fairly straightforward. It takes some AST node and some optional set of options. Now, what's cool about this is that it takes any AST, so it doesn't even have to be the model or the top level thing that you define. It could be something underneath, like model statements. They're the first element in the statements array. And you could serialize this as well as part of the model. It's valid as well as a sub-AST. And for the options, they vary in type. You typically will want to use it. Oh, wait, check. Yeah, so there's not so many options for the JSON serializer, but it allows you to customize the serialized output. So you can encode the original source text that corresponds to CST and text regions, as well as you want some spacing for pretty printing and such, and formatting, and some custom replacers. So you can kind of adjust the serializer to really get the output that you want. Okay. But in this case, we don't really need those options. We're just going to do just straight JSON using the default. Now, it's important that you don't do this like so. Yeah, because this won't work. And we're going to go ahead and show you why. So if you try to do this, oh, whoops, okay, let me change that really quickly. Strict mode. Strict mode, yep, 1 second. Okay, should be good now. Okay, so the problem is that this is a circular structure. So there are cross-references in this structure that actually go back to upper nodes, which in turn go back down to those cross-refs. And so if we were to follow them without any kind of tracking for these cycles, we're going to loop forever. So you can't just serialize it trivially. Now you can implement your own tracking to actually break these cycles, but we've already done that for you using the JSON serializer, which basically just breaks them up into their XPath equivalents, and yeah, just makes it a lot easier so you can focus more on the data there. Okay, so now build it, and look, now we have the output. Without having to change anything, you're able to actually take that output from the generator and let's look at this. We have an actual JSON object. It's a little cut off at the bottom there, but trust me. Okay, so let's take one more step here, and let's go to the actual application in main. We can actually look at the generator here in main. We're going to go ahead and log out the actual generated AST node. We don't actually need chalk. Okay. We change the import real quick. Okay, so build it again and cool. So true build that chalk. You can see now that the output there, which again is a little cut off, but it's the AST that's been serialized. So this is huge. This is capable of being consumed by another process if you want to. So say if you wanted to take this output and feed it into, some other program, you could do it. It would work just as you expect. In this case, I've written out to this out.json file, and look, here is your serialized AST. And you can format it nicely to make it look a little cleaner, but yeah, this is good to go. So yeah, you can consume this in another program. And so through this simple step, we've taken an arbitrary Langium language, turned it into an object that can then be handled and parsed and used as data in another program, just using built-in JSON support. Could be another TypeScript program, could be Python, could be in the web, really doesn't matter. Could be Java too. So it's just up to you how you actually want to use this. So that about concludes this tutorial here, and I just wanted to share that before we move on to the next step. And in the next tutorial, what we're going to do is take the generator one step further, because producing JSON is nice. What we want to actually do is something more targeted with the language. In particular, we want to take this mini logo program and we want to produce drawing commands. And so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to compile it down to a simpler representation, a set of instructions that will be targeting a simple stack-based machine. And that'll be covered in the next tutorial. So thanks for watching, and catch you next time.